Okay, we're going to talk about lines and how they work, and I like using this big boat because, you know, it's a lot easier to point out. I like to number the lines 1, 2, 3, and 4 being the stern. Now, a lot of guys, they'll call forward spring, aft spring, and that's all good. You know, all safety, all information is good. I call them 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's real easy for people to understand where they are. So you want to always make sure your bow line is on an angle almost 45 degrees to keep the boat from going away from the dock. If you have that line stretched up here, for example, that bow will drift out because it doesn't have any sideways pull. So you always want to make sure that your lines are on angles that benefit to what you want to keep the boat in position to do. The other thing that I always stress to people, and you will see it here, we always put the eyes on the dock. And the reason we do that is because we're tying the boat to the dock, not the dock to the boat. So if we get ready to leave, the guy on the deck can control, as we showed you on handling the lines, he can control that line in or out, and in an emergency situation can throw it on the dock and get rid of it. But if it's down here, then you've got to have somebody on the dock that knows what's going on to do it. So I like to keep the tail end of the line on the dock. A lot of people throw it to the guy on the dock, but he doesn't know what you want to do. You got a train. This is line number 2, also known as a forward spring. This line keeps the boat from going forward, and it's always run aft. This becomes a pivot point for the boat, right, in controlling it. I can control the stern much easier than I can control the bow. But I've got that line from here going back, it pulls this from the boat in and stops the forward motion. So we've got the bow that keeps it in close to the dock, the forward spring, or number 2, that keeps the boat from going forward. And generally what I'll do when I dock a boat, I'll take number 2 line first, simply because once they've got control of that, again, this is the front of the boat, this is the back of the boat, I've got a pivot point up forward of the pilot house. So I can control the boat on whether I want it to go forward, to the right, to the dock, or away from the dock. So once he gets that on, even if the wind's blowing, I can put the port engine in gear and drop the bow in for him to get the number 2 line, which is actually number 1, the second line, being the bow line. So now we've got the bow tied off, forward momentum number 2 spring line going forward. So we've got this part secured now. He can very casually then walk back, or she, whoever the next line is, and drop the number 3 line, which is this one. And it goes to that number 3 cleat, and it goes forward on the dock. And now we've got the boats secured on the bow, secured going forward, secured from going back, so we've got 3 points of it. And again, we've got engines in the back, which we can control which way the boat goes. And then from there, you can take your time and you go to the stern line. Now on a floating dock, you may opt to go straight off the corner to the dock. But on a fixed dock like this, you always want to have that angle over to the other side, just like we did on the bow, right? Now if I had this from this cleat to here, this boat would drift out. But because we've got it secured right here, it keeps the boat from going far away from the dock. So whether it's here, or if it's at another cleat here, or even the piling, that's okay. What you don't want to get, it back to here, because it really doesn't have the angle that it does from here. As you can see, it's a nice angle. And remember, lines stretch, and you always have to account for the high and low tide when you tie your lines. If you've got a tide of 3 feet, you want to leave a little slack. So when it's high tide, your lines don't push the boat right against the dock so hard. If it's a 6 foot, you leave a little more room because it's going to go up and down. On floating docks, which are great, you don't have to worry about anything. You tie straight to the dock and the dock moves up and down with the boat. So line handling is probably just as important, if not more important, than actually driving the boat. They're certainly, I would say 50-50, because if you're driving the boat and I'm handling lines and I don't know what you want, we haven't communicated ahead of time, and we go into the dock, I'm going to make you look bad. I don't care how many times you put it to the dock. If I can't tie it down, we're going to look bad, and it's going to be uncontrolled. But working in harmony between the lines and the operator, it's a beautiful symphony. And if you understand and communicate when you go in, there's no talking. It's hand signals. I want it more. Let me go forward. Make it fast. Of course, you'll come up with your own signals between the two of you. The main thing is to communicate and be relaxed and enjoy boating, make boating safe.